Hey everyone. I have a fun story to share. A fun story to share. I know most of you are all probably watching the football. Are the Lions still winning? Can you imagine if the Lions make it to the Super Bowl? Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. My Packers lost last night, and I did not make it up till the end of the game. I had to go to bed. I was so tired. So this morning, when I got up this morning, the first thing I said to my husband was, did they win? Because he's a Vikings fan. So all Vikings fans care about is the Packers losing. Can I get a cheers? Yeah, it's true. That's all they care about. I will go as far as saying the Vikings would rather have the Packers lose than their own team win. Anyone? Come on, come at me. I think I'm right. Oh, Dana, you watched it. I was so tired. We had Sawyer's birthday last night and we went out for dinner and we had this just odd dining experience. It was just, I worked in food service for 5 years. I was a server and took it very seriously. I was very passionate and I made great money and I love my job. And so it takes a lot for me to complain about anything food related, because I could also say look they're short staffed and they're, this is happening. But last night we just had the worst experience. And, the night before I had been up multiple times with Winnie. I got up at 5:50 yesterday for practice. So last night I just went to bed. I was like, and we're done. The boys were so mad, and then Luke was like, well, that's over. What now? Says every Packer fan. We actually drove by the Vikings training facility yesterday because we went to the Mall of America. And so I said to my husband, we like a good, joke now and again. And I said, what's it like to have spent all that money on that training facility? Just goes nowhere. Okay. I'm done. This is not a sports page. I'm done. Oh, Carrie did? Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that my birth story, I don't know Henry's birth story, but mine's going to be, because Henry and Sawyer have the same birthday, right? Oh, no, Henry's is today. Mine's going to be a little bit more eventful, I think. I'm going to read it to you in a second. I read it to Sawyer yesterday. Oh my gosh, you guys, he laughed. He laughed at the flip-flop part. Laughed. So I think you'll laugh too. A couple other things. Thank you to everyone that's donated to the Polar Plunge on behalf of me. I'm almost to $5,000 for the Special Olympics, which is really exciting. There is some guy, Todd Ackerman, who's raised $13,000. And while it all goes to a good cause, great job, Todd. Who can compete with that? How do you compete with Todd? $13,000? I cannot compete with that. So, Todd, coming for you. So if you want to donate to my Polar Plunge, we're jumping February 10th. This morning, Harbor, so my kids are oblivious to everything I do. Legit, when Harbor or Sawyer opened the box of this, when the books came in the mail, this is a true story. He said to me, you wrote a book? And I was like, I've been writing it for 2 years. That's my son. But this morning, Harbor's like, Ma, you're jumping in a lake? I was like, yeah, buddy, I'm jumping in a lake. I'm like, do you want to come watch me? And he's like, that sounds terrible. That's what Harbor's so funny. He's like, that sounds terrible. And I was like, honey, it'll be so fun. Come cheer for me. Watch mommy jump in. I think, Robin, are there 11 of us or 12 of us? We're all wearing different colored tutus, and I'm trying to get shirts. I think maybe we'll do shirts this week. Oh, Harbor, I know. He's something. he's upstairs and he is creating, and he's the biggest critic ever. So he has me draw like really complicated things for him, and then he colors them after. And I just drew Donkey Kong. And can you imagine like drawing something and someone like standing over it with like their head like this, being like, what's that? Is that an arm? Doesn't look like an arm. Is that his face? He's not smiling. His feet are supposed to be touching the ground. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, you're causing me so much stress. Like artists can't work like this. Artists cannot work under these conditions. We are a sensitive type of people. I was laughing so hard. I was like, Harbor, this is the best Donkey Kong that Mom can create. And he looks at me and he's like, Bowser next. And I was like, yeah. So he's upstairs. Winnie's napping, my little sweet angel. She's napping today. She had a rough night of sleep, so that's good. What else is going on? Sawyer's enjoying being 11. He picked out shoes for his birthday, so he's been celebrating his shoes. When did people, like, okay, I don't live in a world of fashion, which it's hard to believe. I mean, look at me. But I don't live in the world of fashion. And shoes are a really big deal. Hey, Carrie, for like 10, 11-year-old boys? Is that like... And Sawyer was telling me that like all the kids at his school have cool shoes and Jordans and all this. And I was like, Dana, now. I didn't know that like shoes were like that big of a deal. So, we took him out for his birthday, and that was his present. He picked out shoes. He was very excited. But can I tell you something about shoes that I didn't know? So it's Jordans that are like the cool thing. So we went to Kids Foot Locker, and Sawyer saw the ones that he wanted. He was like, and the very nice young lady that was working there, she's like, we don't have these in any sizes. And Sawyer is really funny with sales people, or he has like he's if you met Sawyer, he talks like he's like 40 sometimes, like he's like an old soul. So it's very normal every store we go to for him to like chat with like a salesperson, where I'm like, don't talk to me, don't look at me, I'm awkward. He's like, can you tell me about this? It's just who he is. And it makes me nervous because I'm so shy, which is hard to believe, right? So he like went up to the salesperson and he was like, do you have this in this size? And she's like, nope, we have these in no sizes. And Sawyer's like, but I saw them at like this, and he named the store. And she's like, that's like, there's a name for it. What is the name? It was in the Mall of America, and like they can sell shoes. They buy the shoes from Foot Locker and sell them there. So she goes, the minute we get them, this type of Jordans, they sell out. You could go to that store and you could buy them for $200. When we sell them for $90. And I was like, not an outlet, because it's like a cool Mall of America. People, are any of you here? It's like super trendy and hip. Like it was all the latest shoes. Nope, they're the real deal. I just didn't know that you could do that like in the mall. What was the name? She had a name for it. Is it dead stock? Is that what it was, Marcella? So she's like, when we get them, we have them for 5 minutes and they sell for $90. And she's like, but then you could go over there and you can buy them for $200. And we're like, well, we're not doing that. So no, but it just fascinated me. So then Sawyer picked out a different pair that they had in stock. The pandas, is that the name? The black and white ones. And then but we did pop in there. Like we popped in there because he wanted to look at all of them. He thought they were so cool. And we went in there, and the ones that they were indeed $200. I'm like, this is highway robbery. This is like the Taylor Swift tickets. Like, Yeah. And my husband is kind of into shoes too. So when I'm oblivious, but so when we were in there, he's like, did you notice that like every person in this store had like brand new shoes on and they were buying like the latest styles? I'm like, shoes are a thing. So Sawyer was very, very excited to get a pair of shoes. And then we did the flyover. Has anyone ever, I love the flyover. There's one in the Mall of America. I'm sure they're all over. You go in, you get like strapped in this chair. They bring you out. They dangle you. And then we did this Hawaii flyover. Very cool. Very, very cool. I love it. It's only like 10 minutes long, so it's so fast. And we're always amazed at what stuff costs. I'm not sure if anyone else has ever, if you guys ever like just talk about this. The tickets were like $20 a person and like 25. Robin, I highly recommend the flyover. It's very enjoyable. But I'll tell you, just because I know you have autism in your life, Cooper could never do the lead up to it. So they put you in multiple lines and make you wait. So I always take note of that when I go places. Like he would need an accommodation to be successful. So just sharing that with you if you would need one too. So for our family to go, there was just 3 of us. It was like $68 or something, which I think is a lot of money. And there were families of like 6, speaking of you, Robin. And I was like, oh my gosh, so expensive. Yeah, we talk about that stuff all the time. We're like, how do families afford this stuff? But very cool. I highly recommend the flyover. Sawyer wanted to get his face painted, which is very rare for him. I do live near the Mall of America. I live like 15 minutes from the Mall of America, which I think people think is really cool. I think people think that's really cool. It is really cool. We don't go there much. So I'll just tell you for context, last night there were 1 million people there. Like, it was the busiest I've ever seen it. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Like, there's like times where it kind of feels unsafe. I could be wrong. But there's times where like my husband were like, and they're really strict at the Mall of America. You have to have you couldn't just like drop off your kids there. Like you have to have chaperones. After a certain point, you have to go through metal detectors. They like frisk you. So I think they're doing a really good job, but sometimes we go there probably like very rarely. But when we do, it was so busy. A little shocking. Like it kind of like, this could like be out of control, maybe. I don't know. Robin, you go there a lot. Have you ever thought that? Yeah. A little dicey. Yeah, we had a bad dining experience. I'm gonna read this to you, but we had a bad dining experience. We went to Benihana, which is hibachi. Sorry, I wanted to go to hibachi. And we had a reservation. We got seated at 547, and we were there with it was us 3 and then another family of 3 at our table. You dined with other people, and we got seated at 547. Took a long time to get drinks, a long time to order, a long time to get everything comes with soup and salad, and then at 7, so mind you, we were seated at 547. Okay. At 7, our like table mate, the other dad, was like, grabbed a manager and he's like, we've been here for an hour and 15 minutes and we don't have a chef yet. Like, he was very polite. He's like, we're not going to complain, but we have to get going. We have somewhere to go. And sweet little Sawyer, he was just like, can we just go? He's like, I just want to go home. We've been here for too long. And someone on my Instagram messaged me and they're like, she was like kind of like lecturing me. She's like, why didn't you just walk out? Well, we were starving and we wanted to eat, and it was Sawyer's birthday. And we had already like put in so much time that we didn't want to try and go find a different restaurant. So I think we could all say that we would just get up and walk out, but we didn't. And the chef didn't come till like 7:30, and we got there at 5:47. And normally like they do a big show where they like shoot like, sometimes it's like wine, sometimes it's like cooler or juice like into your mouth. They'll like throw food up and like throw it at you. There was nothing. There was no pomp and circumstance. He like was not happy. He like did the stuff and like left. So, and it was a really, I thought it's not a cheap meal. So the other thing that was kind of frustrating was this 20% gratuity. Do you guys have that? So some of our restaurants add in this automatic 20% gratuity. And this is what I was referencing at the beginning. I was a server for a lot of years and worked really hard. And I wanted to get good tips. And it appeared that it didn't matter. And then they just really, really poor service. And then they still got 20%. So it's just kind of an all in all bad experience. But we stopped at the candy store on the way out. All was healed. All was miraculously healed. Yeah, it did stink, but I don't think that we're the kind of family that, we moved on. Robin, go to Osaka. Osaka and Woodbury. I love their hibachi. That's my favorite. That's where we normally go. Brooke, they have a sign at the entrance that it's added on everyone's. And then I guess that it says in the menu, I didn't see this, that if you want to tip extra, tip cash so the servers don't have to track it, which I think that's a hardship on families. I don't know. I guess I don't really want to walk into that discussion. I mean, I think servers work very, very hard. I was a server, so they work very, very hard. People at restaurants work very hard. And I think I'm going to encourage my children to all work in the food service industry because there is nothing more humbling than working in the food service industry. Trust me on that. Oh, interesting. We have a lot of restaurants that will now take a credit card for making reservations. Oh. It was for everyone. Yep, 20% for everyone. So yeah, all in all, it was great. It was a really good night. We enjoyed. I'll tell you, we have 4 kids, and Sawyer needs time with us. He needs time with mom and dad. Our 2 little ones are really close. Our 2 little ones, they are 5 and 2. They are thick as thieves. They are always together. They are iron tight. And my husband and I actually had a pretty big heart-to-heart this morning about just some things going on with our family, and just talking about things like bedtime and meal plans, and how do we just be better parents. And we had a long talk, and it was really needed, and it was really good. And we talked about how life could have looked so differently for Sawyer if him and Cooper would have been close. If and how differently life would have looked for him, just in even its trajectory. Just, would they play sports together? Would we have done a birthday dinner together? Would they play together nonstop like the 2 little ones? So many parts. And there are times, my friend Carrie calls it death by 1,000 paper cuts. We feel that. We feel the paper cuts more and more lately. I'm going to also, before I read this, I'm going to hop on my supporter page right after this and talk about just a few things. I had a weird judgment thing lately that made me feel really vulnerable with parenting. And I just kind of wanted to talk about that with them. And then, so if you want to come join, click that link to come join. It's a really great group. It's where I share a lot more of my vulnerabilities over there. Okay, so let's get started. Also, this is emergency. This is nothing other than emergency. Okay, so I want to read this to you. In honor of Sawyer turning 11. I think this is just a phenomenal story, so grab a coffee or something and just settle in. It's not very long, but I think You will laugh at this and you will be a little bit shocked. So for context, I always say that Sawyer saved me. And sometimes that makes people mad. I don't know why. But it's a twofold thing. Sawyer did save me, and you'll hear why. I essentially died during his birth. So you'll hear that story. But Sawyer also has needed me in a way that Cooper hasn't. And each of our children need us differently. Cooper needs me to be his safe space, to be his advocate, to be his voice, to pave the way for him, to believe in him. Sawyer needed me to be the mom who goes to hockey and sets up play dates and signs him up for t-ball and wears his face on a t-shirt and stands in the stands and cheers and helps him with his projects. He has saved me in a different way than Cooper. So, okay, so who's ready? I think you're going to enjoy this. And if you do and you haven't bought this book, buy it. It's good, I promise. I hardly remember anything from my pregnancy with Sawyer, and I don't remember a lot in his first few years. But I do remember that we almost died during his birth. I don't share this with a lot of people, probably because it feels far-fetched. But it happened, and it was very scary. On the day of my induction, 40 weeks exactly, I was leaning, hunched over the side of the hospital bed, feet dangling near the ground, with my face crushed into Jamie's chest, waiting to get the relief that only an epidural can bring. This was my second epidural in my birthing career, so I was not scared. I knew sitting still was the hardest part. I knew that the pain would be all over in a minute, and I would finally be able to take a breath and relax. While Cooper's birth was long and drawn out, Sawyer's was going to be fast and ferocious. I could tell from the second I felt that first contraction. In hindsight, it's funny. Each child's birth matched their personalities perfect. I do want to say to you, each of my births of my 4 kids got faster. Winnie was so painful that if she was my first, I might only have 1 child. just sharing that. The anesthesiologist was talking me through the process. You'll feel pressure. You should not feel any pain. I felt the tape and the cold of the swab used to clean my back. It's always cold. I felt the pressure. Once done, the nurse told me to sit up straight and swing my legs around, but to do it all slowly. I would be woozy, she said. I followed her instructions and lifted my head from my husband's chest. I can still go back. It's been 11 years. With the help of a nurse, I turned to lift my numbing legs up to the bed. I looked her in the eye and very calmly said, "I'm going down." True story. That is the last thing I remember. When Jamie tells the story, he laughs about how calm I was, like I was just laying down for a quick nap. Before I tell you what was actually happening in my delivery room, I'll tell you what I was feeling. I was feeling amazing because I was higher than a kite. I was floating. I had this black swirling around my head and a voice telling me to go to sleep. Finally, I could rest. If only these people would all leave me alone. I vividly remember feeling the best I had felt in ages. The second I lay down for my much-needed nap, my room filled with sound. Buzzers and alarms started ringing. My blood pressure had dropped to 0, and my heart stopped beating, which practically never happens during childbirth. I was essentially dying. Stick with me. I lived. Jamie said the nurse climbed on top of me, trying to wake me. So she was on top of me. I was in the bed. She was on top of me with her arms here, trying to wake me. She was shaking my shoulders. Katie, can you hear me? When she could not wake me, she reached over me behind the bed and slapped a button on the wall and screamed, "I'm calling the code. Get the code team in here." Jamie said within seconds, microseconds even, the room was full of people. When he tells the story, he says dozens. He says he was pushed back in the corner and there were so many people gathered around me that he could not see my face. I was sleeping, essentially, and then I was awake. I opened my eyes, but I could not move my body, so I looked up. I knew there were people, so I was completely numb, my whole body. Do you know what, can you guess what happened? I'm sure some of you can guess what happened. I knew there were people around me because I could hear their voices, but I couldn't move my head. It felt like I was in cement. My limbs were heavy. The talking heads were all gathered around me. I felt trapped in the bed, and I had this desperate feeling that I should run away. I was darting my eyes around, trying to avoid the bright lights, looking for my husband. I just needed to see his face. I was scared, really scared. And I remember this. Something was wrong, but I didn't know what. And Jamie, well, he was calm. He always had been. I often joked that our house could be on fire and Jamie would be sitting in the recliner telling me, relax, we have time. Let's make a list of what we should save. But first, let me finish what I'm doing. His calm sometimes drives me crazy, but in that moment, I needed it more than ever. When I realized he was crying, my fear started to build. I had never seen my husband cry. I tried to reach for him to say I was all right, but I couldn't speak. The nurse kept repeating my name, trying to get me to focus. And after what felt like an eternity, I was finally able to focus. Katie, you're back. You gave us quite a scare there. How are you feeling? Asked the nurse. I just looked at her. All of those people were standing around me. I felt confused about what had just happened. Then I heard someone shout that the baby had no heartbeat. I will never forget that sentence. The baby has no heartbeat. At first, it caught me off guard, like an out-of-body experience. Whose baby has no heartbeat? Not mine, I thought. Frantically, someone lifted my gown, no modesty for me, and moved the heartbeat monitor around my tummy. Multiple hands were pushing on my stomach, trying to move and reposition me all at once. Nothing. No baby. I distinctly remember thinking, I can't lose this baby. He's mine. I want him. Oh my gosh, that gives me goosebumps. I want him. I looked at Jamie, willing him to do something. In those moments, they were all focused on me. I was the priority, getting my heart going. They had to save me, but now I needed them to save my baby. I heard the word C-section. I heard prep for surgery. I heard beeping. I heard the blare of a flatline. I made eye contact with the doctor. Gosh, he was young. He was not my doctor. I don't even know his name. My doctor, the same man who delivered me and my sister and Cooper, small town, was probably in his 70s. He was calm and reassuring. I had no fear with him, none, but he wasn't in the room. The other doctor, the younger one, did not seem to know what to do. He was wiggling my stomach, moving the whole entire thing as if to shake Sawyer awake. He was visibly scared. I saw his face. He looked panicked. I could have very well misread that, but it scared me deeply. Someone screamed, "Get the doctor here now." This is the dramatic part. The part that always makes Sawyer smile when I tell this story before bed. Suddenly, my doctor was there, beside me. He walked in. Oh my gosh, you guys. He walked in, looking unnerved. Machines were beeping. People were running around. It was like a scene from a movie where the hero walks in through the fog, unrattled. He looked at me and squeezed my arm and said, "Hang on, kid." I don't know if he meant me or the baby. Truly. Then my doctor's arm was up inside me. Yep. And he gave Sawyer the biggest shake. I felt it all, and it didn't feel good. Beep, beep, beep. The fetal heart rate monitor let out the familiar sound it was supposed to. The room let out a collective sigh. We were both okay. My doctor, gray-haired, a larger-than-life man, had saved him. Sawyer loves that story. He thinks he was saved by a superhero. He loves how he gave us all a huge scare before he was born. Before I go on, so can anyone guess what happened? Do you know what happened? So an epidural is supposed to only go in so far into your spine. The anesthesiologist punctured the sac. It went in all the way and essentially numbed me everything. So everything stopped. And we could have died, both of us. Yeah. I'd like to tell you the rest of his birth story was peace and zen and peaceful. The rest was just as chaotic. That's my boy, my loud, wild, exhausting boy. Okay, so I'll just tell you the birth story. It's really cute. You'll love it. So I read this to him yesterday, and he was like rolling laughing. Thankfully, he gave me a few hours to relax and recover from the trauma. I sucked on ice chips, and Jamie and I played on our phones and joked how this felt like a vacation. You know, besides the whole almost dying part. One second, I was saying to Jamie that I wanted to stay an extra night and have these wonderful nurses take care of me. And the next I was screaming bloody murder for Jamie to get a nurse. I remember this vividly, you guys. Jamie, press the call button, I demanded. The baby is coming. The nurse was just in here, Kate. It can't happen that fast. Press the damn button, I screamed. Jamie responded, I did it, Katie. I pressed the damn button. Like, he's challenging me, and I have a baby coming out. Press it again. Nothing. Hold on, I gotta ban this person. I have this like weird dog thing happening. I'm getting like all this dog spam. So weird. So I said, press it again. Run and get the nurse right now. I can feel his head, Jamie. Like, every mom knows this. I felt his head. I said, do you want to deliver your own son? Now, this is one of those moments when Jamie's ever calm demeanor was not helpful. I will never forget this. He sighed, pushed himself out of the chair, and slowly, like a sloth, made his way out the door. His shoes, they were clomping. Flip-flops. Who the heck wears flip-flops to the birth of their child? Sawyer was dying when I was telling him this. He was taking his time. I made a mental note to finish him off when this was all over. I know I swore. You guys, I remember. So the hospital beds are like ours here. Like there's like, you know, they go up and down. Now they're like, it was like this thick plastic. I screamed out the slats of the bed. I was like, ah! I was like screaming. Can this man never have any urgency in his life? I heard him and the nurse joking on their walk back. I heard her say, I just checked her, but it can happen quickly, especially with a second baby. She sat down, took one peek, and told Jamie to hit the button again. It was time to have a baby. Then she told me to stop pushing. She could see Sawyer's head and we need to wait for the doctor. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the doctor arrived. A nurse gowned and gloved him as he turned the corner. I watched him take one peek, and then Sawyer came out like a rocket. The doctor caught him like a football. It was incredibly dramatic. Sawyer was in my arms, the baby who almost wasn't. He was perfect, all 8.5 pounds of him. Like with Cooper, I fell in love with him immediately. I love that story. I love that story. So if you haven't read this, Amazon, spoiler alert, we survived. Sawyer just turned 11. Harper's like, do you have a book about my birth story? And I was like, I don't, buddy. I was like, I only have one. Jamie survived too. Jamie survived. He's still here. Flip, flop, flip, flop. I was like, oh my gosh, I hate you. I totally, you know, in the movies, like when the woman's giving birth and like she's like squeezing the man's hand and like saying like, I hate you. I sort of get it. I also have an excellent story with Winnie. I should probably wait to tell hers, but it involved a fart heard around the world. It's just a great story. Change my marriage. But yeah, she hurt. Ouch. Oh, she hurt real bad. Okay, I'm going to hop on my supporter page right now. Come join us over there. Just a little plug about my supporter page. It is the best group, you guys. It's just a place to ask questions and share and talk. I'm really focusing on this getting comfortable in the uncomfortable space. And a lot of the secret world of autism can feel uncomfortable, like we're trying to figure out how to belong here. Yes, I can try and find that video. Yes. It's hard. And when I share, people can get uncomfortable. Not for, like, people don't want to hear about things that can be sad. And sometimes life is sad. So I talk a lot about that over there. Yeah. Getting comfortable in the uncomfortable space. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.